Okay, so when you think of French style, like classic 1960s French style, chances are you're picturing someone like Françoise Hardy. With her guitar, those famous bangs, and just this effortless cool, she became the face of a new music genre called yeye, and really a symbol for a whole new France.
Oh, and designers? They worshipped her. To guys like Paco Rabanne, André Courrèges, and way later, Nicolas Ghesquière, she wasn't just some singer. No way. She was the muse. She was that perfect mix of masculine and feminine, that garçon look that really came to define French chic for decades. She was the icon of a new kind of.
But here's the thing. This story is about way more than just fashion. What we're going to see is how Françoise Hardy and this whole yeye music movement became the actual soundtrack for a massive cultural shift. It was a moment when France was desperate to leave behind the trauma of war, and it just dove headfirst into a new, modern, and very consumer-friendly identity.
So to really get a handle on the super polished pop of yeye, we got to go back a little bit to what came right before it. And that was this raw, kind of rebellious, and honestly, to a lot of people, kind of dangerous rock and roll that first got the attention of French kids.
Yeah, the media had a name for them, the Blouson Noir, the Black Jackets. They were totally inspired by American rebels, Marlon Brando style. And their concerts, they were infamous. We're talking brawls breaking out, chairs getting ripped right out of the floor. It kicked off this full-blown moral panic. Pundits were seriously worried that a whole generation was getting lost to this imported, American-style delinquency.
And this slide really shows you the pivot, right? It was a deliberate move. You have the establishment, the record labels, the radio stations, even parents. They saw all this youthful energy, but they wanted to, well, tame it. So they basically took that raw rebellion of the Blousons Noir and repackaged it. Made it safer, cleaner, and a whole lot easier to sell.
And that is how we get yeye. Even the name comes from this kind of watered-down version of rock and roll's yeah. There was this one radio show, Salut les copains, which means hello pals, and it was a total kingmaker. It pushed this new, cleaner sound and created a totally new kind of star, the pop idol or the copain. They weren't scary rebels, they were your pals, your friends. Okay, but this whole music scene didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was playing in the background as a brand new France was rising from the ashes of World War II and all the chaos of its colonial wars.
This was the era of the Trente Glorieuses, the 30 glorious years. I mean, for the first time in forever, France was booming economically. Regular folks actually had money to spend, and this whole new world of stuff, refrigerators, record players, was suddenly something you could actually buy.
And the number one symbol of this new modern life? The car. For sure. Car ownership just exploded. To put that in perspective, in just 7 years, it went from 1 in 17 people owning a car to 1 in 7. The car was freedom, it was mobility, it was a total break from the past. And you better believe it was marketed right at this new youth culture as the key to everything.
This timeline is just wow. It shows you how fast everything was moving. In 1962, the super traumatic Algerian War, they called it the war without a name because it was so divisive, it finally ends. And then just 1 year later, 150,000 kids cram into a square in Paris for a free yeye concert. It's like you can see the country making an active choice to just forget. To forget the pain and dive headfirst into this bright, shiny, pop music-fueled future.
And who was front and center in this new, modern France? It's female stars. Singers like Françoise Hardy, Sylvie Vartan. They represented a totally new kind of woman. But as we're about to see, it was complicated. A real paradox. So on the surface, their image was all about liberation. You'd see them on magazine covers in miniskirts and pants, driving their own cars, with careers and their own cash. To the world, they looked like these super independent, modern women who were totally in charge of their own lives.
But that was just the surface. Behind the curtain, the same media that was celebrating their independence was also pushing this deeply, deeply traditional message. This quote from a teen magazine at the time just says it all. You could be a global superstar, but the culture was still asking, yeah, but is she good wife material?
I mean, just look at the kinds of questions they were getting in interviews. It's wild. It wasn't about the music. It wasn't about their art or their careers. It was, can you make an omelet? When are you getting married? Do you like to cook? Their incredible success was treated like this fun little hobby they could have before they settled down into their real job, being a wife and mother. This whole perfect little world of fun, apolitical, consumer-friendly pop, it couldn't last forever. By the mid-60s, the ground was shifting again, and that carefree, yay fantasy was about to hit a wall. Hard.
And then, bam, a whole new kind of musician shows up. Singer-songwriters who are not singing about cute boys or new mopeds. Nope. They were writing these really politically charged songs about the Vietnam War, about racism, about birth control, and all of a sudden, the light, breezy stuff from the Yay stars started to sound, well, really naive, totally out of touch. And this whole clash of cultures was perfectly captured in this public feud between Johnny Hallyday, the king of Yay, super clean cut, and this new guy, Antoine, a protest singer with long hair and a bohemian vibe. Antoine sings a song making fun of Hallyday, saying he belongs in a cage at the circus. Hallyday shoots back with a song called Long Hair and Short on Ideas. It was more than just two singers beefing. It was a battle for the soul of French youth.
And then comes the final exam, May 1968. These massive, almost revolutionary protests by students and workers shut down the entire country. And the Yay idols, where were they? Either totally silent, or worse, they sided with the government. When the protests were finally put down, singer Franz Gall actually said, "Everything has returned to order. What happiness." And that one quote just showed how completely disconnected they were from what was really happening with the youth. So the Yay movement, which started as this perfect soundtrack for a modernizing France, a France that just wanted to shop and forget, it ended up as a relic. It really shows you that pop culture is never just fluff. It's a mirror. And for a little while, a glorious little while, Yay was the reflection of French cool. But when France changed, the mirror showed something new. And it leaves us with this question. What really happens when the soundtrack that once defined an entire generation just goes silent?